So our first speakers today are about a project that was done in partnership with Innovative Minds, which is Dr. Asha Patel, and some people from the RIL cluster. So we have ASCAL Brynhedydd and we also have ASCAL Plas Cefndy, and they will talk about how they've used a trauma-informed approach to recover from domestic violence. And thank you very much, everybody.
Hello. Welcome, thank you so much. What an absolute pleasure it is to open up this conference talking about children's mental health and trauma-informed approaches. I'm Dr. Asha Patel, clinical psychologist and founder of Innovating Minds. Why I stand here today, my journey actually started off in forensic mental health services. I've worked in medium secure services, prison services with high-profile murderers, sex offenders, and actually a lot of their journeys and stories started off with experiencing childhood trauma, not being able to access the support that they needed at the right time. And here I was risk assessing how many people needed to be handcuffed to somebody to be able to access KFC. Some of those people that I worked with, I said, well, what was it like in school for you? Did people realise and acknowledge that actually you wasn't okay at home? Things weren't so great. Some said yes, that actually there was expelled, excluded. People said you're not going to get very far. There was putting punitive-based approaches, things like detentions, isolations, exclusions. What they desperately needed was people to connect with. They needed those relationships. When they talked about school, they always had someone that they remembered, and it was that person that was able to connect with them and help them to feel safe, calm, and regulated. There's also children, my patients that I'd worked with, they said actually school didn't realise, because I enjoyed school, so I wasn't a problem at school. So they kind of went under the radar. So today I want you to also think about the children that don't present as with behaviour that challenges and kind of just fly under the radar and maybe look compliant, but actually they're struggling too. I'm really pleased to join by my colleagues that have been running the Healing Together programme. The Healing Together programme was originally born out of a request from parents and carers that run their journey of recovery from domestic abuse. They recognised that their children were no longer witnesses of domestic abuse, they were victims themselves in their own right. They recognised that actually the help and support that's available isn't domestic abuse informed. They didn't quite meet the threshold for services, local and national services, because they weren't deemed unwell enough. Schools were receiving notifications, it might have been Operation Encompass notifications. Schools, safeguarding leads knew that these children were victims of domestic abuse, but didn't have the resources to be able to support them. Yes, we're talking about domestic abuse, but also the Healing Together programme supports children that are experiencing mental ill health and other forms of trauma as well. So quite quickly, we couldn't meet demand for service. By session 2, I had a waiting list of 40 children. That was without anybody kind of doing any marketing or referral from social services, etc. We couldn't meet demand with surplus resource. So what we did was transform it into a practitioners programme, whereby we upskill the frontline practitioners that are working with the children day in and day out, but are not clinically trained. These are the people that the children grow to. These are the people that the children gravitate to and seek out. But how do we upskill and resource them so they can offer trauma-informed support that's evidence-based? So our practitioners go through 2 days of core training. They get access then to a 6-session programme resource that's been clinically designed and carefully designed to support children. They don't talk about their experiences of trauma. This isn't about getting children to open up, because actually what we don't want to do is re-traumatise children through the experience of seeking help. They get ongoing support through coaching, whether that's one-to-one and group. And also we measure the impact. So today you're going to hear about the impact. And I'm going to pass you over to Hayley, who's going to talk to us about Harry, his experience, and Hayley's experience.
Is that going to stay there? Oh, sorry. Morning, everybody. My role is Head of Pastoral Support in ASCAL Brynhedydd, which is a mainstream primary school in RIL in North Wales. We have 463 pupils on RIL. I'm not sure how much you know about RIL, but we're an area of There's 35% of under 16s living in relatively income poverty, with one large neighbourhood in Rhyl named as the most deprived in Wales. Recent data shows that just over 800,000 domestic abuse crimes were recorded across England and Wales in the year ended March 2025. And of course, these are just the recorded ones. We all know that many people that suffer from domestic abuse are too scared to report their abusers. These are our children. This is how they live. The problems they face at home are real, and the support they need is growing. And as a school, it's becoming increasingly harder to teach children who are not emotionally regulated nor equipped to learn. So let me introduce one such pupil, Harry. Harry is a funny, kind, gorgeous little 11-year-old boy. Harry came to our school in year 3, and while school was made aware of Mum's ongoing mental health issues at the time, we were not informed of the domestic abuse he'd been witness to, nor the physical and emotional abuse he'd been a victim of for all of his young life. Harry's introduction to domestic abuse had started before he was even born. His mum was in an abusive relationship with Harry's dad, and he abused her throughout the pregnancy. The abuse continued after Harry's birth until eventually Dad left the family home when Harry was 3 years old. Mum then entered into a new relationship. This new relationship was again extremely volatile. The partner was controlling and abusive, both physically and mentally. This relationship also saw the birth of a second son. Both children then lived in a home where domestic abuse was the norm, and as a result, both children were emotionally abused and dysregulated. Mum left this relationship after 3 years and took both boys with her. It was at this point that Mum was also diagnosed with bipolar disorder. It was about this time that the boys joined ASCAL in Hedith, and we met them and they were both emotionally fragile. They were very quiet little boys and would be quite weepy, actually. During Mum's manic episodes, she would act aggressively to the children. This aggression was often physical, and we noticed that the boys, especially Harry, began outwardly struggling emotionally. Thankfully, Nan was now on the scene and was and still is a protective factor in the boys' world. A short time later, Mum met and started a relationship with a very controlling man, who himself also struggled with his own mental health issues. This relationship resulted in a miscarriage and a complete breakdown for Mum. Her bipolar symptoms soared, and the abuse and emotional neglect started once again between her and her young boys. Nan then stepped in to care for the children. It was at this point that Harry became increasingly emotional and aggressive in school, and with our support, he began to open up about his life of trauma, his abuse, and his emotional neglect. It was a heartbreaking story of an emotionally damaged little boy who admitted he had been too scared to share his thoughts and fears with anyone other than Nan before now. It became apparent during our sessions that Harry needed help to understand why he was unable to control his emotions, and he was frequently angry and had begun lashing out at other children. He also had no idea why he would just start to cry, for in his words, I used to cry for no real reason. Harry was unable to emotionally regulate himself, and this was having a massive impact on his learning, his relationships both in school and at home. So in our school, we tried to use a trauma-based approach. Our staff are trauma-informed, with some of us going on further and gaining our trauma-informed practice diplomas. Looking at our children through a trauma lens has changed our school approach completely. It certainly changed my understanding and my practice as pastoral lead for the better. We've always tried hard at Hedith to work with the whole child, to accommodate their needs, and to support our pupils as best we can with our very limited resources. To help us with this, we also became a My Happy Mind School, which is a programme we run from nursery to year 6, which helps our children understand the emotional connections between their body and brain. And of course, we're always looking to try and improve our support for these children who just need that little bit more. And whilst we can tailor our own sessions to support children, this process is time consuming and costly, which are two things that we don't have much of in school. So why Healing Together? Earlier this year, we were lucky enough to be offered to train as facilitators for the Healing Together programme and run a pilot in our school. The intervention appeared on paper to be just the tool we needed to support children such as Harry and give them a targeted, evidence-based intervention which gives them tools to deal with their overwhelming emotions. And I'm really happy to share that for us, myself and my lovely colleague Jo, delivering this programme has been a real game changer. What we liked about it, the training was informative and thorough. The pre and post assessment process is simple and effective. The programme is easily accessed online. It's simply structured with no frills and no padding. It's not wordy. Lots of these interventions are really, really wordy and you can lose children. It consists of 6 easy to follow, fully resourced, engaging lessons. The sessions can run and a one-to-one situation, which takes about 30 minutes, or a small group situation, maybe an hour for 4 pupils. Each session has a short, sharp, informative video with great printable resources. There's a share sheet to take home after each session, which outlines the session content. That's a lot of S's. The sessions are practical, giving the pupils real and effective coping strategies to support when their emotions are overwhelming. It's very much done with the pupils, not to the pupils. And there's very little prep, just a little bit of printing, which can save us masses of time. Overall, we both feel that this programme is valuable, effective, and a pleasure to deliver. We've enjoyed seeing the pupil engagement during sessions, and the results the programme has produced have been fantastic. Working with parents and carers, we found that getting parents engaged in the programme really gave it the gravitas that it needs. It really has helped to enhance the outcomes. Keeping parents informed after each session, sending home the sharing sheet, is key to giving it longevity to the strategies that we've covered in sessions. We've had parents telling us they're using the strategies themselves at home too. Pupils have shared that they enjoy practicing these strategies at home with their carers, and it's actually brought them closer together. As a whole, we've had great parental feedback, with them seeing changes in emotional regulation for their children at home. Impact. Well, it's a bit hard to measure impact, because whilst we've only had the opportunity to work with a small number of children over a short time, the feedback we've had has been extremely positive. The children have had improved understanding of how their body and brain work together. They have a pocket full of coping strategies now to use with their emotions. We've seen improved emotional regulation in school and at home, and parents have reported even improved sleeping patterns, which is something they often moan about. Improved attendance and engagement at school, and the pupil feedback has been really heartwarming. Our pupils are proud of their new skills and their successes, and they're far more able to understand and manage their emotions, with one little boy stating, "I think this might change me completely, Mrs. PG." He's really very proud of himself. The challenges that we found, approaching certain parents that we know there's been domestic violence in the home, to gain their permission to talk about the programme, has been a bit of a challenge, because the phrasing of the programme is supporting children and young people impacted by domestic abuse, and often this is hard for them to hear and often hard for them to acknowledge. Parental feedback is they wish it could be introduced as supporting trauma rather than domestic abuse. And time. This has been our biggest challenge. We feel this is well-resourced, easy to deliver, grab-and-go intervention, which, when time to deliver interventions is so valuable, that's imperative. But of course, funding will dictate if we can carry on using this programme to its full advantage. One last page. Moving forward, we feel this programme could support so many children who struggle with the emotional impact of trauma. We would like to run reconnected group sessions periodically for the children who have completed the programme, just to reinforce those strategies that they've learnt, and for the children to have the opportunity to share their healing together journey. We've got plans to run more group sessions in the new year, with a previous pupil coming on to work as a mentor. That's because the children are asking, can we come to the next group? Can we help other children? So actually, that means it's obviously meant a lot to them. We aim to introduce the programme to teachers in school and support staff to enable them to reinforce the strategies learnt, and for them to be aware of the programme content with future referrals in mind. All of this, again, relies on funding. The overview and the reality. I'm acutely aware that the number of children who have been subjected to domestic violence and physical and emotional trauma has hugely increased over the last 5 years. We see these results every single day in school. We have the skills and expertise in our school to support these children, but what we don't have is the time. I've been pastoral lead now in our school for over 18 years, and my role grew from part-time pastoral support to full-time pastoral support in 2019. Today, my pastoral support role is reduced back down to part-time, and not because there isn't a need or we don't believe as a school that we need more time. It's quite the opposite, as we've just said, but simply because the lack of funding dictates that I have to teach as well as do my pastoral support. We know that building relationships, understanding these children and giving them simple practical strategies can help our most vulnerable broken children to thrive rather than just survive. So surely it's time now to invest in things like this that really matter and help us to help them have the future they really deserve.
I was up, was like, good morning. I'm just happy to be out. It's very exciting. So I'm Nicola Wynne Roberts, known as Nicola Roberts in Denbighshire because apparently they couldn't make email addresses with full Wynne Roberts in many years ago. There were too many letters. So I'm known as Nicola Roberts. I've worked for Denbighshire till before Denbighshire was recreated in 1996. I was formerly in Clwyd, so I've been around a long time. I'm a Denbighshire stick of rock, in other words. I am the head of the Behaviour Support Service in Denbighshire, and I run, as part of that work, I run the PRU. Hence the reason they need to be really nice to me. So, but as part of running the PRU, I'm also the inclusion officer. So I'm the link for anything to do with behaviour, exclusions, etc. for the Denbighshire schools. And I'm going to tell you Aaron's story. But first I'm going to tell you a little quote that, for me, sums me up. And it's me saying it, so it's nobody else that said it. Well, actually, it's Shakespeare. Shakespeare wrote something that I think he really had me in mind. And he said, "She be but small, but she be fierce." And I do not deny it, nor do I apologise for it, because it's being fierce that means I fight for the children of Denbighshire, whether they're my children. And people do ask me, do you have any children? And I say, yes. How many? 88. So whether they're my children or whether they're the children in the schools, still my children because they're Denbighshire children, and I do my best to fight for them. I'm going to tell you Aaron's story. Aaron is slightly older than Harry, but has been on quite a journey. So Aaron is now year 10. He came to us in year 9, and that's after being in a school that was so inclusive and had so many strategies. They put in resources. There couldn't have been more that could have supported him. But he wouldn't engage. Not only would he not engage, he was getting himself excluded time and again. And the exclusions got more and more serious. He was assaulting people. He was setting up fights so people could get assaulted and stepping back and enjoying, in his words, enjoying the action. He was going to lessons. However, those lessons weren't actually his lessons. He was going to other people's lessons and disrupting them instead. That was far more fun. He wasn't going to his own lessons. He had a couple of managed moves. The first managed move failed dramatically because he wouldn't even go to the meeting. So we tried another one, and he went to that one. But he, again, was more interested in finding out what was going on in other people's lessons. So that failed. And it's not because the other schools didn't have the right programmes. He wasn't ready, but there was something else needed. So he came to us in year 9, and let's just say we didn't have the same disruption, even though he's got ASD and ADHD, allegedly. He does the world's best impression of a hibernating bear because he likes to sleep. I've seen him sleep at his desk. I've seen him sleep on the sofa. We're in a PRU, we have many sofas. I've seen him actually fall asleep leaning against a wall. And he's tried a couple of times to go to sleep in the toilet, but the other kids weren't having that. So he'd sleep. So for the whole of year 9, despite our best efforts, he would sleep. And when he was awake, he would just be abusive. So we were getting nowhere fast. The whole of year 9, I don't think I ever had a proper conversation with Aaron. And he's, you look at them and he looks like a gentle soul, but like, as all of them, when he goes, he goes. And we were sort of getting to a bit of desperation of what are we going to do, because we're not getting anywhere. And then kindly, because Mrs. Elminstead says, always think of the PRU, because she knows how often people don't think of the PRU, we were also invited to take part in the Healing Together programme. Now, I'm going to apologise in advance to Asha, because no matter how many times I've tried to do this, for some reason in my head it's called Healing Hands. If I say Healing Hands, it's Healing Together, but it's been in my head. I don't know why. So we got the call and we were told about Healing Hands, and that's what we thought about with Aaron. So let me just explain why we chose him. Aaron's had a tough life. Aaron has witnessed domestic violence. He's been a victim of domestic violence from a very young age. Aaron's biological father was married to his mum for several years, and throughout that time she was a victim, and as was he. But Mum it's taken till now for Mum to admit it. Mum was more comfortable getting a diagnosis of ASD and ADHD, which we all know present like trauma. So Mum finally got the courage, and off Dad went. And all was looking much better, and Mum then found another man. Now this other man, she married, and Aaron adored him. And the reason he adored him, it was because he said his stepdad treats him like the son he always wanted to be. Now that phrase has come out directly from doing this programme, and he just volunteered that. But unfortunately, his world was turned upside down when stepdad was sent to prison for 3 years. And Mum didn't tell Aaron why. Now, as we know, social media, the internet, it doesn't take long to find out why somebody's gone to prison. And just as he was being prepared to be released, Aaron found out why he was in. And the way he described it was disgusting. He's a weirdo. But again, whilst we weren't trying to explore any of what's gone on, this was him volunteering. Now, let me remind you, this is why he spent a year sleeping. And he said, I really love my stepdad, but I don't think I should, because does that make me disgusting and a weirdo? So he's dealing with this conflict of somebody who he really did treat him like a son. So he's been through an awful lot. And the way he's done it is to deflect, like they all do, through sleep and through disruption. That was the easiest way to deal with his feelings. So fast forward to Gemma, one of my facilitators. I have 2 facilitators, and I'll talk about how I chose them once I finished Alan's story. Gemma was all for doing the course. She was up for it. She was really keen, and straight away on the first day of the course, she spotted something, and she spotted some of the signs that the training was saying you need to look for. I'm just going to read these though, because this is Gemma's writing. Gemma's words, my writing. Constantly tired or complaining of illness, shutting down, being aggressive when staff woke him up, feeling of sickness in unfamiliar places, constantly going to the toilet, using jokes to deflect, sometimes inappropriate times, inappropriate places, seeking physical contact. He liked to shake hands, but then quickly withdrawing. He would complain of feeling cold. He wouldn't eat. His diet consists of what I called a white diet. It was bland, it was chicken, it was potato, he wouldn't try anything new, fearful of anything new. Ironically, the thing that she picked up on clearly was one set phrase, and that was goes to the toilet a lot. And that's what made her think, I'm going to work with Aaron. So they've been doing the sessions, and 6 sessions. It's with everything else we do as well. This is not a standalone. For this to work, I'm passionate. It has to be at the heart of everything else, along with trauma-informed, growth mindset, everything else. So they've done the sessions, and for his sessions, they were looking at developing skills to emotionally regulate, to recognise your signs, to come up with plans, to have goals. And he had 2 goals, a short-term goal and a long-term goal. So, short term, I'm reading this now because this has come directly with his permission from Aaron. So the first thing he wanted to do was develop a couple of coping strategies that then he could go to, his go-to strategies. And then in the long term, to be able to improve his regulation, reduce the symptoms of trauma-related impact. This is what he wanted. So where are we? What's the impact on Aaron so far? Before the programme, he would walk the long way home from school to avoid seeing people he knew. Now, he arranges to meet friends outside of school to walk home or to go to their house. Previously, he would become anxious. He wouldn't walk past other schools. We've got a college right next door. He'd go all the way round the long way. Now, he walks fine, wherever, no problem. He wouldn't interact with staff. He wouldn't, any staff that didn't work closely with him, he had no interest in whatsoever, and it was very difficult. He barely interacted with me. It was just a couple of staff in the department. Now, he's brought his guitar in, and he's sung songs that he's composed to us. He's now one of our quiz masters for our Friday quiz, which, believe me, when you've got a group of very competitive people, is not an easy job. And I'm talking about myself there. He's actually, for Christmas, got his mum to buy him a sparkly jacket, so when he hosts the Christmas quiz, he's got the right attire to wear. The verbal abuse has completely reduced. If he swears now, it's accidental rather than direct. He still likes a kip. Monday was definitely a bear in hibernation day, there's no doubt. But he's not sleeping as much. And because he's not sleeping as much, he's engaging in learning. And he's starting to plan for the future. He's started to work on qualifications. He used to struggle with his own body, the symptoms of that trauma. He didn't recognise it. So when he felt ill, he thought he was really ill. Now he's recognising those symptoms and he'll actually verbalise it. My body aches, my eyebrows ache. Those are signs of when he's feeling stressed. And what's really lovely is he's now not on a white food diet. He's tried curry. 2 months ago he's 14 years old, he tried bacon for the first time. And he's engaging in our cookery lessons now. Now I'm not saying, it would be unfair to say this is all because of the programme. The programme has helped us steer him in the right direction from a base of a very like Bryn-Headed, trauma-informed school. But it is definitely changing his life. The key thing for me as the head of the school was getting the right people. I think that's really important. It's got to be people who can empathise but don't live in sympathy. They've got to be, let me put it this way, Gemma was formerly a tank driver in the army, so she's no pushover. They've got to have that something about them that just says, I'll get on with this. Once they did their training and I handed the programme over to them, that was it. They've run with it. Her and Joe, my other facilitator, they come back, they fed back to me, but they've run with it and they're absolutely passionate about it. But it had to be the right people. I needed people who were driven, independent, had initiative, and were really good problem solvers. Because as Geraint said to me this morning, the world of a head teacher has changed so much that we're spending more time in our offices filling in forms and answering ridiculous questionnaires and everything else. We're not spending as much time with the children. We need people like these wonderful ladies and like Gemma and Joe, who will just do it because they want the best for the children. There were pitfalls, and that was more, as I'm sure all of you have experienced this term, we got hit with every flu virus, every sickness bug going, children and staff. And we've had staff having to jump into different classrooms, which meant continuity was difficult, but we've got round it as much as we can. We've had to be quite adaptable. So Aaron has done sessions that have been part of the cookery lesson, when he's gone for a walk around the lake, when they've been sat outside on the picnic bench. He's done it then rather than formally sitting in a room, because that suits him. Our other little boy who's doing the programme right now, he likes sitting in one safe space. Although I'm not keen on the phrase safe space, because I think every space in a school should be safe, but that's what he calls it. So yeah, making sure we could do that. Parental engagement is difficult with older learners, and there is no getting away from that. The longer it takes for a parent to accept that maybe it's the trauma that's caused the difficulty, the more they blame themselves. So Aaron's mum's really struggled to recognise that maybe what happened to him through no fault of hers has probably had that impact. ASD and ADHD was far easier to label. Moving forward, we're taking this slowly, because in our school we already do, as you can imagine and through, the majority of our curriculum is wellbeing. Trauma informed has been embedded for years. We've got all these other programmes, but we're able to take it to the next step. moving forward, this for me has to become a programme for all our children and for as many staff as possible. And again, as with Bryn Headeth, it's supporting those children with the mental health issues as well, not just because of any trauma they've been through. But I'm genuinely astounded by the impact it's had on this one pupil. And I've always said throughout my teaching career, if I can make a difference to one pupil, then I've done my job. So let's go back to Aaron. When I was leaving yesterday, he saw my suitcase and he said, "Oh, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Cardiff." "What are you going there for?" "Oh, well, I'm going to tell your story," which he's given me permission to do. "Oh, they are then. Are you going to tell him that I can play the guitar?" "Yes." "Are you going to tell him about me eating bacon?" "Yes." And then this is where it changed. "Are we going to feed you?" "Yes." "When are you coming back?" "I'll see you on Monday." "Oh, are they going to have somewhere for you to sleep?" This boy didn't speak to me a year ago. And then he said, "Just tell them if they want to be part of my quiz, they know where to find me." So that's Aaron, and that's this programme. And as Gerard said, it's difficult times in schools. Being an inclusion officer, I know how difficult it is, because I'm the person on the other end of the phone when schools say, "What can we do? What can we do?" If we can do this, there'll be some more children who won't end up in a pro or worse. Thank you very much.
Oh, I feel a bit busy. I tried. I did try. I thought we were running out of time. I should have gone first. Okay, so basically, I'm standing here as the head teacher. As we just said, I'm not the one who does it. I've got Hayley, I've got Joe, who haven't got enough time, and it's my job. Oh, sorry. And it's my job now to sort of go with, there's always a backdrop to everything that we do. And then Claire, I thought I got away with it, but I've got to say some stuff. Okay, so when we look at progression, so we jumped at the chance to be part of the programme. It was something that, I know we're in an area of deprivation, but the joke is in our cluster that our school is the private school of Hill, because we're on the other side, but we're not the private school of Hill. We still have these children. We still have children who suffer from domestic abuse. So being given a chance to be a part of this was something that we just jumped at, didn't we? It's already making a difference. You know, we've seen a rise in a number of DV cases. The Operation Compass emails come through thick and fast, and it's quite scary not having anything to help these children with. And we need to give them the tools and the opportunities to not just, oh, like, we'll have a chat about it. They've got tools that they can use, and hopefully when they come to you guys, because from us they go to the high schools, you want them to be able to use these as they move forward. But then it comes down to funding. The teaching side of it now is taking over from a pastoral, so this programme is something that can be done in short, sharp shocks, and it makes a difference in a short, sharp shock. I've got a little letter to read you from, what we called him? Harry, I nearly called him his name. So, you know, our children are going to be around a long time after any intervention. We have to think bigger. You know, governments, local authority need to start funding this properly, giving us a chance. You know, the programme has helped our families. We could do so much more. Budgets are shrinking. TAs, teachers doing more and more and more with less and less and less. And it'll come to a point where it doesn't matter how much passion, care, energy a school has, it's just going to go anyway. You know, they give us that all the time, this thing of, oh, you love your job, you love it. Of course we do, but if we haven't got the resources, if we haven't got time, if we haven't got staff, this doesn't happen. And then the cycle just continues and continues. Like we've heard there that, you know, Dr. Asha's come from some horrible places and tracked it back to school. So if we don't do it right now, or we don't get the funding that we need now, it's just going to continue and continue. We hope that this Healing Together intervention is going to have a lasting effect, and that our children will grow up, potentially have families of their own. You know, we want them to be ambitious, capable learners, resilient, part of society, contributing to society. Spending that money, investing in the children now is going to make a massive difference, so that we, you know, that if we can do it now, that we probably, you know, we don't need people like Asha later on in life. You know, I'm trying going off track here because I get annoyed with this stuff. But basically, our children have the right to receive an education and the resources and the things that they need to be able to become these, you know, capable, ambitious resilient, fantastic human beings that they should be. And I've got a little letter here. So all the families that we choose, they're all deserving. But this little boy,
He's a star.
oh, he is a star. He is a star. So he's chuffed to bits after the programme. He says, Mr. Evans, can I have a meeting? Yes, you can have a meeting. So I had to go sit down, didn't I? He sat down and he had this little letter. It's not got his name on. It doesn't say anything, but basically he had to write a letter to a buddy. So they write to somebody who might come through the programme. And what he said was, if you were like me and sometimes you get upset and angry, or dear buddy, if you were like me and sometimes you get upset or angry or scared, I would recommend doing this programme because it helps me deal with my emotions. I could do with a bit of that right now. I just get it makes me mad. Like, Claire, you should have put me on here.
Yeah, of course.
So it has taught me ways to calm down. You learn how your body and brain need to work together to help you feel calmer and safer and happier. And then there's a quote on this one. Oh, it kills me, this one.
I know.
Deep breath.
I know. That's how he feels though. He wanted to come today, I can't lie. He was so excited. He wanted to come today.
I can't do it.
You can.
So he says, I don't ever want to be like the men who hurt my mum.
I don't ever want to be like the man who hurt my mum. I want to control my emotions, and learning this has helped me. And his idea is that hopefully in the future, he won't be that mad. He won't mimic what he's seen all his life. Because right now, he is an angry little boy, and he's getting so much better, isn't he, at controlling himself.
Shift a bit.
He's proud, and he wants to share it with everybody. He's proud that he's actually, because he knows he's angry. He's a very angry, very damaged little boy. But he truly believes, bless him, you know, that these tools, the little tools he's got in his toolbox now that help him calm down, are actually going to change his life.
Yeah.
And if he can have that belief, if he has that little bit of hope, and we can show him there's a different way, then we think we've got that. You know, just make him one difference.
You know, if we don't get it right now, if we don't act on this now, we just deal with it after. There'll be consequences. And, you know, if you spend 10 grand on a child today, oh no, £10,000 on a child, could be millions by the time, you know, social care, police, NHS, we can fix that. Like, this room could fix that today. If we had the money to do it, we could fix it. But nope, they'd rather just give us nothing and pay for it later on. So just to say that, you know, the Healing Together programme, like Claire said, it's part of a package, it's not on its own. But that comment there, that's a little boy that's going to grow up and hopefully break that cycle. So, thank you.
How touching was that? It's very difficult to follow. But every day we're faced with this. We're not telling you something that you don't experience. But what we are showing is that actually we can make a real difference. Now, this isn't about turning you into health. We know the remit. We know actually there's a function around education, and we're not trying to become therapists or clinicians. But what we're doing is upskilling those people that are with the children day in, day out, to give them the resources to be able to support the children, because they're going to be spending time with them anyway. So we have an absolute opportunity to be able to support more children and young people, to prevent that cycle of the areas that I was working in, but also to give them hope as well for their future. And together we can do that. Thank you.
I'd just like to thank the Real Gang and Dr. Asha for what they've said today. You know, what Geraint said,
It's not what I wrote down.
and I never expected it would be. But, you know, we change the future. We create the adults that come next. And you invest in us, and you invest in our country and our communities. And if you don't, God help you, because we're doing something that matters. I can't thank you enough for today. Aaron and Harry will resonate in my mind. And Dr. Asha, thank you so much for working with us. I know we can share the video now because they have just done a massively positive thing. Can we give them a round of applause?